So I'm really surprised by how moving this book is. You know, it's written in a style I feel that like the prose is not common anymore in children's books, and it's still very sweet. Sarah is a main character who, from a young age, she loves to read. She's very shy and she just says like very deep things for a small kid. So that makes it kind of like immediately endearing. This story begins when Sarah is taken to a boarding school and left behind by her father. Her mother died when she was born, and so Sarah has primarily been raised by her father, and she has a very close relationship with him. And so it's very heartbreaking that he has to leave her behind. She's made new friends with a lot of the girls at the school, but then she also has kind of like that inevitable bully character. And her teacher also, the headmistress of the school, also doesn't really like her because even though she's very agreeable and smart and sweet, she is very privileged. And if you have watched the movie, you already know where this story goes and what happens, but I don't think that I've ever read the book before, and so this is like all coming back to me very slowly. And Sarah and her father are saying goodbye. Then he went with Sarah into her little sitting room and they bade each other goodbye. Sarah sat on his knee and held the lapels of his coat in her small hands and looked long and hard at his face. "Are you learning me by heart, little Sarah?" he said, stroking her hair. "No," she answered. "I know you by heart. You are inside my heart." So cute and so sad. They sent someone up to check on her, and they couldn't open the door. And so Sarah says from inside the door, "I have locked it," said a queer, polite little voice from inside. "I want to be quite by myself, if you please." There's definitely something that happened that I feel like a description of a character that would not fly in 2023. Another student in Sarah's classroom is not doing well in French, and the book describes her as fat and dumb and stupid, and it's just like those were words that they were using in this children's book because it's an old book, and I'm just trying to imagine like that's not how you want to portray children, especially if they're struggling academically. Like first off, like fat phobia, but also you would not use dumb, stupid, slow, any of those words. So anyways, so I'm continuing on in this one, and I'm also probably going to be finishing Mistborn today because I'm very close to the end of that book, and then I'll probably consider picking up something new because this is my buddy read. Is not like my exclusive read, so I will get to pick what to read next. More later. Hello, I'm back. My biggest update is that I have read Mistborn. Oops. I'm giving this 3.5 stars, I would say. Like, I feel like that's accurate. 3.5 stars. I liked it. I didn't love it. I think that the world building is great. It is a little bit info dumpy in this first book. I like our main character. I didn't necessarily feel like the love interest was believable. But yeah, I still enjoyed my time with it, and I'm excited to continue in the series and see if the other two usurp this one's placement, because I can see the potential of the other two being higher rated for me. But a super low rated book, in my opinion, is unfortunately The Kingdom of Sweets. I started reading this yesterday. I finished it today, and the first like 3/4 of it was kind of unputdownable. It had a lot of the great atmosphere that the Nutcracker Ballet does, a lot of similar themes and just images that it referred to that I remember from the ballet itself, and that was really rich and colorful. And then it took a dark twist. And yeah, it's just kind of messed up. Like it's like a tale of sibling rivalry between two sisters that turns dark, and the sister who feels forgotten and less favored, she is the one who kind of decides, okay, that this is enough, I'm going to make things right. And yeah, it's just, it really went downhill for me. I really thought this was going to be at least a 3 for me, but having finished the full story and wanting to DNF it at like the 3/4 mark, that is way too late in a book to feel like I don't want to read anymore, I think, especially for something that's just a little over like 300 pages. Yeah, I didn't like this one. I'm also really curious to read some other reviews, see what other people are thinking about this one. So captivated by the initial part of it, and I saw some interesting potential storylines, but it didn't go where I thought it would, and it was way more twisted than I thought it was going to be, so 2 stars. Meanwhile, though, a little princess is treating me so nicely. I'm so glad I decided to read this one around Christmas time. I'm already starting to identify some differences between the book and the film adaptation, and I think that's going to come to fruition in the way this story ends. What happens to Sarah's father in the book, I think, is different than what happens in the movie. I think the movie potentially has a better ending than the book. From what I can tell, I think it has a better one. So what am I going to read next? I have finished the first book of the series, Mistborn. I'm not really feeling like picking up book 2 quite yet. I think I might read something else in between. As far as like Christmassy books go, I don't think I really have much left. I guess I could do a really quick library haul and you can see what I have as options. A good pile for my vacation because I'm on my Christmas break now and using the last days off of the year this week, so that's exciting. The Afterlife of Holly Chase. I don't know that if this is the first book in a series or a standalone. I feel like I've heard Holly Chase before, but I just didn't know this title, so I'll have to look that up. There's this old banker type named Ebenezer Scrooge who shuffles around saying, "Bah, humbug." One Christmas Eve, he's visited by the ghosts of Christmas past, present, and future. In the morning, he wakes up, like, completely terrified and says to himself, "This is my chance. I can change my future." Then he supposedly lives happily ever after. It's a nice story, but that's not how it happened for me. On Christmas Eve 5 years ago, Holly was visited by 3 ghosts who showed her how selfish and spoiled she'd become. They tried to convince her to mend her ways. She didn't, and then she died. Now she's stuck working for the top secret company, Project Scrooge, at the latest Ghost of Christmas Past. Every year they save another miserly grouch. Every year Holly stays frozen at 17 while her family and friends go on living without her. So far, Holly's afterlife has been miserable. But this year, everything's about to change. This one sounded intriguing to me. It's kind of like a retelling of a story, but I'm hoping that it does me better than The Kingdom of Sweets. The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand. I literally just picked this one up because of the cover, which I will always admit to doing because that's my whole thing, guys. This is called Michikusa House, I think, and it's a novel. It's written by Emily Grandy, and this was just on the new books shelf at my library, published in 2023. Love this cover. House with some nice light shining through the window and pink skies, just very like Japanese inspired design on the cover. The back says, Winona Healy spent the last year of recovery from eating disorders in rural Japan at Michikusa House, alongside one other full-time resident, Jun Nakashima. Like Winona, June was a recovering addict and college dropout. While they bonded over rituals of growing their own food and preparing meals, they changed each other's lives by reconstructing long-held beliefs about shame, identity, and renewal. But after Winona returns to her Midwest hometown, June vanishes. 2 years pass, and Winona, seeking revival through gardening, accepts a job as a groundskeeper at a local cemetery and begins searching for June Nakashima once more. I have no idea about this one. The prologue opens, "There was a time a few years ago when I lived in a house without mirrors." I'm gonna give that a try. By Dolly Allerton. It's called Ghosts, and I have not read anything by Dolly Allerton. I don't know if it's legal to read this first, considering she normally writes nonfiction about, life advice, but this one intrigued me. The other cover design I love, and I'm just looking forward to giving this a try. Fellowship Point by Alice Elliott Dark. This one I picked up several times at the bookstore because the cover is just so gorgeous. Sorbet sky. And yeah, the synopsis of this one also sounded interesting. It's about a decades-long friendship between two vastly different women tested in the twilight of their lives. One of our characters is a celebrated children's author. She's determined to secure her legacy to complete the final volume of her Franklin Square series of novels and to permanently protect Fellowship Point, the majestic coastal Maine peninsula where she spent all 79 summers of her life. To donate the land to a trust, Agnes must first convince the remaining shareholders, including her lifelong best friend and neighbor, Polly Wister, to agree to the plan. But Polly's sons have their own vision for the land, forcing Polly to choose between friendship and family. Agnes' efforts are further complicated when an enterprising young book editor, Maud Silver, sets out to convince Agnes to write a memoir. Agnes's resistance cannot prevent long-held regrets and secrets from coming to light, with far-reaching consequences for all involved. So, yeah, I really like this projected cast of female characters and the involvement of writing and publishing in this story. So I'm interested to see how I fare with this one. I think that you're starting to get to know my taste as a reader, just like I'm discovering it more as I talk about books on booktube. If there are any of these that stand out to you as ones you think I would like, please let me know in the comments. So this one I am super excited about. I feel like I've had to be on a waiting list for it for so long, but I finally got a hold of Remarkably Bright Creatures by Shelby Van Pelt, and I'm excited about this one. It's about a woman who works in an aquarium, and she begins an unlikely friendship with an octopus. And I don't think the octopus necessarily talks to her. I think that he does have things to communicate to her though, and I believe it's told in their thoughts. The jacket design and illustration is by Vivian Rowe. Way to go, Vivian Rowe. I love this. Lastly, for my library stack, I have The Bear and the Nightingale by Catherine Arden. The idea of reading it at wintertime is really drawing me in, so I'm gonna give it a shot. I know that this is at least a duology, if not a trilogy. Russian folklore or Russian fairy tale retelling, and I'm trying not to read the flap on this one, honestly. I don't want spoilers. These two, I feel like, have the potential better experience than The Kingdom of Sweets, and having similar vibes, better stories. Reading A Little Princess, finishing it on Christmas Eve, and we'll see where I go from there. I'm going to be mood reading from there on out, as if anything else could be different. Thanks for joining me for another reading vlog, and I hope that you have a very Merry Christmas. I just hope that you've been having a really wonderful reading week. I hope that you get some books that you have been wishing for Christmas, even if you have ordered them yourself. Thanks for listening to me talk about books. I enjoy spending time with you, and I will see you in another video soon.